they just don't care about you. Where the pain falls, that there you go, because they're going to say what they want to say and unthinkingly may cause rifts between family members by speaking their mind and not caring what it does to other people. People like this are kind of self-centered, I think.
Yes, they are. Well, you know what? Before you make a remark, we got to take a quick break and come right back because we want to talk to people about aging with tact. Watch your mouth. And we will be right back. So we want you all to take a listen and think about whether or not you are taming your tongue when you speak to people. And are the things you say really inappropriate and hurtful? We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three black moms. Well, have you ever had that relative that was older, or perhaps that neighbor, or maybe even that parent that said things that were kind of hurtful to you, and you bit your tongue because they're your elder? Well, in this culture, we're taught to respect our elders, but how many elders are taught to respect their children and those younger than them? So, we want to talk to you today about watching your mouth. Is it okay to say whatever you want just because you're a little bit older? Is it okay to say rude things to people that are hurtful because you're a little bit older? Well, perhaps there's some things in our culture that we need to talk about. So we want to give you a chance to think about what you might be saying that could be hurtful. So, sisters, have you ever had a situation where someone older than you said something that was what you would consider rude and inappropriate, and yet you couldn't say anything because they were your elder? And we've been taught to respect our elders. And how would you handle that today, maybe with the wisdom that you have, if someone older than you was really inappropriate?
Well, I have to say, a soft answer turns away wrath. And the book of James says that the tongue is a fire, a restless organ of evil. We actually, it says, when we put the bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can control the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder wherever the pilot wants to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole body, sets the whole course of one's life on fire, and is itself set on fire by hell. All kinds of animals, birds, and reptiles and sea creatures are being tamed and have been tamed by mankind. But no human being can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil full of deadly poison. Now, I have to say, I've had instances of having to actually bite my own tongue to keep from saying what I thought because people who say thoughtless things, it's because they are self-centered. They don't care how you feel. They just say, like you did, Naima, oh, well, I'm just speaking my mind. And if you're hurt by what I say, you're just too sensitive. My own mother-in-law, when I was a young bride, came under fire a lot of times by comments that she made that were really rude and unfeeling. And I remember once my husband had to take her aside and say, you can't talk to Barbara like that. But she wouldn't stop unless my husband had said something to her. She would have just kept on. And she did that to everybody. That was just her personality. And we all recognize that, my mother-in-law spoke her mind, whether it hurt your feelings or not. That was just too bad.
Well, I had a relative. I had a relative who still is around and is still a relative. But she would say things that were also inappropriate and would say, well, I just believe in speaking my mind. And, you get to a point where when a person does that often enough, you stop inviting them places because
Yes.
it took a few times where she was not invited, where she realized that she had hurt people and she was going to have to curb that because people don't want you in their company and they don't know what's going to come out of your mouth. They don't know if you're going to say some embarrassing thing or insulting thing. And they're trying to not come out of character and curse you out, stuff like that. So sometimes you have to, I don't like to use the word shun, but sometimes it's what you have to do if people won't get the message when you try to tell them politely, that was really hurtful or you shouldn't talk to people like that. And they just decide, well, I don't care about your feelings. This is how I feel. I'm going to speak my mind. Well, you have to let them know. Everybody don't want to know what's on your mind. Keep it to yourself.
Okay, now we're all women of a certain age. Mm-hmm. But before we were women of a certain age, I'm sure most of us, and my queens out there, you know who I'm talking about, whatever relative that is, will say something to you like, oh, I almost didn't recognize you. Your face done got so full. You didn't put on so much weight. They would never, ever, ever say, oh, you look wonderful. Even if they said something as rude as, oh, I see you've lost weight. You look great. No, they're the first ones to tell you. And these are usually the biggest ones who would tell you that they didn't recognize you. And I got so tired of old Black women who felt like they could say whatever they wanted. Barbara, you know that old white women will say the same thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that
it's not a race thing. It's a rude thing.
It's a rude thing.
It's definitely a rude thing. I remember when I was home visiting one of our neighbors who has since passed away, but she was large when we were children. She was even larger when we were adults. She had gotten so big that she could not even leave her bed, and her son and daughter had to come and take care of her, turn her, and that kind of thing. But I came in to say hi because I was visiting all the neighbors. She goes, you didn't put on a little weight, ain't you, Barbara?
Yeah,
the biggest woman on the block is always going to say stuff like that.
The thing about it, what I have learned that people do when they don't feel good about themselves, they will find someone else that they can attack so they think they're going to feel better about themselves. And that's really where insults come from. It's a reflection of a person's own low self-esteem. And thank you, Kevin Small, for watching us. It says, I'm so excited to finally watch you all live. Yes, keep on watching us every Sunday. I have spoken to a couple of you all before, and you all provide great and powerful content. Thank you. Yes. And I'm sure there are those who can identify with what we're saying because
this is the thing.
Experienced it.
Yeah, this is the thing that there's a word that was not in use when we were coming up that we hear all the time. Boundaries. You set boundaries because you set them, and now we know that you set boundaries when your kids are little, when great Aunt Martha or somebody will say, come over here and give me some sugar, and the kid don't want to, and then all of a sudden, oh, spoiled old kid and acting so ugly. Instead of saying, you know what? This person isn't comfortable with you.
Yeah, let them
And,
get to know you
and we
first.
and we as older people
Older
have
people.
to learn that too. We have to
Yeah.
learn. I When I meet a child, I will never say. They say, "Oh, go give them a hug."
I never force myself on a child. Let them feel comfortable with you first. And I'm not being standoffish. I'm respecting their space. I'm respecting
Their
their right
bodily
not to be
autonomy.
touched,
Yeah.
by some stranger. So I don't do that. But you're right. How many times are you forced to go and hug some relative that you don't know as a child? And then if you hesitate or kind of draw back, oh, she's spoiled. No, I
I
don't want
don't
to touch
know
you. I
you.
don't know you.
I don't know you. And this is the thing that we have to teach, we have to preach, and we also have to make sure that we are not using our feelings. I mean, you might be excited to see your great niece or your great nephew or whatever, or your grandchild, but if
Yeah.
they don't know you, you cannot force yourself on them. Take a step back and realize that they may be scared of you. I remember Sarah, who adores her grandmother now, but when she was little, there was a time, and she was like a toddler, and Mama had come to visit, and she was afraid to sit by her. She was very shy, and she said, "I'm kind of afraid of Grandma," and I said, "Well, that's okay." And she just like left it, and eventually she warmed to her, and Mama was watching her. When Sean and I went out, I came back, and Sarah had fallen asleep on Mama's shoulder, and Mama felt like she couldn't even move. And it was like one of my best memories now, because now Sarah's like a young woman, and
Yeah.
she's the one who's taking care of her grandmother. But that's the thing, is let the child come to you, and don't be rude to children. We have to learn as a people to stop being so darn rude all the
Yes.
time.
Why
Stop
do we
being
think
And
rude.
also unthinking. Do you know, now this is sometimes
Oh, Barbara, you froze again.
Yeah. Well, Latoya is saying, I hear you can't tell grown-ups what to do. And a lot of
friend
times that's the
that
attitude.
you need
You're
to
younger than
spank your child if she will not respond to someone who wants to hug them. And she was like, no, my daughter is just shy. I'm not going to spank her. Why would I do that? It's like I'm punishing her for being shy.
Yeah,
And I thought that was bad advice myself. I kind of rolled my eyes when I
horrible
heard that.
advice. It's abuse. I mean,
Yeah.
but you're right. I've seen that. Again, older people who think that their way is right. And you say, "Hey, come and get Auntie some sugar," and you're like, "Ew!" And
No.
your parents know that you're recoiling, and yet, if they're not wise parents, they will try to push you over there, and you're resisting and hanging on like, "No, no."
Yeah.
And some
And
unwise parents will spank their child because they didn't want to go and
because they're embarrassed.
yeah, because
Yeah.
there you go.
Because
They're
they're
embarrassed.
embarrassed.
You
But
shouldn't be embarrassed. If your child doesn't want to hug somebody, they have a right not to want to do that.
Yeah.
and this is the thing, with all we talk about with grooming, is that we are teaching our children not to use their own sense of autonomy, and
Yeah.
you all are teaching you're teaching your child that their feelings don't matter. And this is
And
how children become groomed, because when children are abused, it's not the stranger snatching them out of something. It is someone who is in their family life,
yeah.
who makes inappropriate gestures to children, but
Yeah.
they do it and they normalize it. So by the time the child, who has always felt uncomfortable, feels like they can't say
Can't say
anything,
anything
Yeah.
because
they've been
and
outed.
the person knows that, the groomer
Yeah.
knows that. So it's like you don't want to tell your parents, because they're going to be mad at you. And it's all these kinds of things that we have taught our children. And if you knew how many children, like, what, I don't even know, it's like more than one out of five children have been molested, and it's probably even higher in
Yeah.
our community, because folks don't talk about this stuff.
Mhm.
And instead of Great Aunt Martha just, loves children, or she loves you and she wants to love your
Yeah.
child. Great Aunt Martha, you know what? She's okay, or he's okay. You know, let him get to know you first. And yeah, you can't
Exactly.
maybe not tell grown folks what to do, but you're grown too. So
And that's
and that's the
funny.
thing. You are the grown up, and your child, your
You
child,
have to
that is your
respect
job. You're
We
the
are
mama
the
bear or the
gatekeepers.
papa
We
bear.
have to be the gatekeepers.
And don't
Yeah.
let people insult your child because they'll say things like, "Oh, they're so spoiled." Oh, they say things insulting to your child. You got to stand up for your child's rights. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't care if Great Aunt Martha gets mad. Oh well,
Yeah.
no, they
Yeah.
just
You
they don't
know
know you yet, and I just give them the opportunity to get to know you. I'm not going to force them to do what they don't feel comfortable doing. If that
And
offends,
you
oh
want
well,
to
because when you're
train.
grown, you grown. And yes,
Yeah.
there are some older people who feel like even if you're 40 and they're 80, they have the right to treat you like a child. They do
Yeah.
not. When you are an adult, you are an adult. And yes, you're going to respect the older adults, but they still have to respect you too. And like you say, boundaries. Sometimes you have to put people in their place. Hey, you're overstepping. I respect you, but no, you're not grabbing on my child. They don't want you grabbing on them. And I said they can decide not to hug you. If
well,
you
it's
Right.
even
And you
more
want to
than
be able to feel like you can train your child to say no.
no.
Not
No.
disrespectful no, but just a no, because they need to be able
yeah,
to set boundaries. They should not be made to go against that kind of uncomfortableness as if there's something wrong with them for
yeah,
not wanting to hug or let someone cling on them that they don't really know or
just
they don't feel right about, you know.
yes,
But also, this is the thing: is that your child, you are your child's champion. Now,
yes.
I got a funny story. Well, not funny because it probably doesn't hold me in the best light, but I don't care. Um,
Uh-oh.
Sarah Sarah went to Catholic school for uh, her formative years, from the time she was in K1 to sixth grade, and then she went to public school. From there, she went to an exam school in Boston. But when she changed when her first Catholic school closed, and they were all lay teachers there. She went into the fourth grade. Yes, it was the fourth grade, I think. Third grade, fourth grade, one of those grades, and her teacher was a nun. Well, my husband is Catholic, and he would tell her stories of nuns being mean. He
Mm.
was terrified of Sister Avis because she heard, about the nuns who would
Those
smack
fear
the kids with
guns.
rulers. We went to her classroom before school started, and Sarah and her friends still looked for the ruler on her thing. And I just let Sarah know, one, I'm Methodist. Two, this is a child who knows that I would walk through fire for her without hesitation anyway.
Don't make
So
me
I told
upset.
her, look, let me tell you something. Nobody's going to hit you. I
Yeah,
don't hit you.
yeah.
Nobody's going to hit you. And I don't care if it is a nun. Mama's Methodist. Daddy might be scared of nuns, but Mama's Methodist. I'll take out a nun. Now, granted,
Oh, good words, girl.
Did you tell? Did you tell the teacher of your policy, your no hit policy up front?
no, I didn't have to because
I,
they didn't do that anymore. They had
I had
stopped
to tell
doing
her,
that.
look, you got a reputation of hitting children.
Nope,
You know,
I
you ever
wasn't
hit
gonna
my
do that.
child, I'm coming after you, and you're gonna get more
Nope,
than
I
hit.
didn't have to because you know what? She ended up this. She was like 72, and that ended up being her last
Last year,
class. That ended up being her last year. But and she was a good teacher. She really was a good teacher. But Sarah was terrified. Like within the first couple of weeks, she had forgotten her homework. They were supposed to bring the homework, and she was crying. And they were supposed to bring the homework home. She had forgotten it, and she felt like Sister Avis was going to, like, I don't know, disembowel her or something. So we went up to the school, and I ran into Sister Avis. I said, "Well, Sarah forgot her homework." And she says, "Oh, well, what did you get?" Well, she had gotten it all. Well, she says, "Okay, that's fine." Well, Sarah says, "Well, she would have yelled at me if you hadn't been here." And I said, "Then that's why I'm here."
Yeah, because children know, stuff happens in classrooms, and
They don't always tell you.
unless your child feels that you will take their side or at least listen to them, they're not going to tell you. And that's another thing,
Sarah,
you have
Sarah
to
knows
your children when
yes.
even, and I'm not saying, and because I know teachers have a really hard time sometimes when parents will, override what they're trying to
Not
do.
my child and that
And,
kind of
and
stuff.
the child is a terror in the classroom, and the parents, oh, my little Pookie would never do that. I know teachers got to go through that, and all y'all have taught. So, and Barbara, you've taught children.
Yeah. I've had some crazy classrooms.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. So so I know teachers do their best, but at the same time, parents have to stand by their children and at least listen and support them, and at least let them be heard, even if you decide that the teacher was correct in whatever reprimand she did or whatever stand she took, or if you decide the child was inappropriate in their behavior. But it's our responsibility to make sure that the teachers don't overstep their boundaries in terms of what they would do for whatever they think is punishment. I don't believe in children being publicly humiliated in any kind of way, because that's abusive. And sometimes you have
to go back to watch your mouth, because that means that too. That goes back to our.
Oh my goodness! I used to have a teacher assistant who regularly berated the kids. Now, this was one of my wild classes, but I don't think it was right. Some of the things she said, y'all gonna end up in prison, and that was just not the kind of thing you want to say to a very young, impressionable kindergartner by telling them they're going to end up in prison.
Kindergarten. That's so awful. You going to jail? They 5. Oh, how sad is that? But I have seen that too. Yes. And that's another thing. You have a right. If your teacher has said something denigrating like that to your child, you have a right to challenge them and say, well, my child said that you said that she probably going to end up, drunk on the street, in jail, or on the corner. Yeah. She said that you said that. Did you say that? And then the teacher... yeah, I mean, first verify it.
They may or may not lie, but the thing is that by you participating and addressing it, you have also put them on notice. I mean, we've all seen the stories of folks who put like recorders in their kids' backpack and find out all the things that have been said in class that was true. Oh yes, there have been plenty of stories like that. So, but to get back to this whole thing is that when we talk about aging people who watch their mouths, we have to start as parents watching our mouths too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have all lost it with our kids. Well, probably not you, Naeem, because Zakia was pretty compliant.
Yeah.
She always reminded me she was the perfect child. So
she was the perfect child. Now Sarah's perfect now, but we did have the dark days of teenage years, as Barbara, you well know.
Oh yeah.
So, but we still have to remember. We still have to remember that we have to model the behavior we want to see. And when other people don't model that behavior, then we also have to be willing to check them. We have to be willing to check, the person who says something. And you know what? If somebody says something rude to me, like at this point in my life, I don't mind calling them on it. If somebody says, "Oh, you done got so heavy," I says, "Yes." Well, how nice of you. How nice of you to notice. Or that was, or you can just say, "Well, that was rude."
Because sometimes people are trying to, there are people who might have little resentments of you, and they mask it as an innocent comment. Like I had.
Oh, I'm just joking.
I had relatives that come to my house and try to find stuff wrong. Oh, you don't clean too often, do you?
Oh no!
I would say no, I don't. Here's a broom.
Here's a broom. Help yourself. I mean, really. You think, there's some hostility there. Why would you do that?
What? Yes.
Those comments really do not come out of a vacuum. What I have noticed is that these people were always like this. They get older and it just escalates.
They're just worse.
Wherever you are, you will become more of that.
Yes. So Let me check the time. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that people have to, like you say, model the behavior that you want displayed. Model it for your children because they need to experience you you speaking to them with respect, so they know what it sounds like, you know what it feels like to be respected by an older person. So
And prepare them. And prepare them. Prepare
Yeah.
them to say, okay, great Aunt Martha really likes kids. She may, come on a little strong. If you don't feel comfortable, it's okay to hold my hand.
Okay.
It's okay to
Yeah.
say, and I will speak for you.
Right.
Be willing to speak for your child, because that person gonna say, "Oh, your kid's so spoiled." I said, "Yes, she is. Spoiled children are loved children," and I let her decide who she's going to let hug her or touch her or anything. That is our policy. And
and I
that,
know,
and you can be just as respectful, because they can get just as nasty as they want to, but you don't have to uh escalate it into anything nasty.
Yeah.
Because you are modeling behavior, and you're teaching your young child to say no. If they are uncomfortable, that is enough.
Yeah.
Because maybe eventually they warm to this person. And you have to remember to do that yourself. You can't say, okay, my kid says no, but i want to hug I want to hug Barbara's grandkids. I want to hug her ones that I have only seen once, and I want to, I can't do that to
yeah.
those children.
And
I don't do
they
that
don't
to
know you like that, and you can't get offended because it's not personal in that sense.
It's not
When
personal.
you know, just because somebody's a blood relative, and you know you don't see them often, you know that they don't know you, you can't
They
make
don't know
them.
you.
Yeah, you can't make them give you all this affection. They don't feel, they don't know you. And thank you, Kevin, for your remarks about it. You said something very true. Folks can very much get disinvited by speaking your mind. However, even with that, if someone does say something that's unwanted before you disinvite them, I do think there's a proper way to speak with someone who does say something unwanted. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, these are
I
people
don't
who
think
have
it's
not
wrong.
brought into control. They have not brought their thoughts captive. And so
Yeah.
they just
They don't.
blurt out whatever they want to say. And then they are defensive.
If
Yes.
you check
As you say, Cheryl, you call them on it. All of a sudden, they have to defend their position of rudeness.
instead of just apologizing and saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I
Right.
didn't say it like that." So
Yes,
that's how I
and that's
feel
the
like.
thing. And I don't think it is wrong to shun someone or disinvite them if they are rude. There, why we have such a finite time on earth. We don't have to spend time with people who make us feel bad.
Yes.
And that's the thing, is that we have, there's so much time that you have to spend with people who make you feel bad because you have to work with them and you got to get that paycheck or whatever. Any of my free time, I don't spend time with people I don't like. I just don't. I don't have enough time to do that. If you ain't paying me, and even if you are, at this point in
Even
my
if
life,
you are,
even if you are, I don't have to spend time with you.
there
You
you
can
go.
make me an offer and I can refuse.
That's right.
Danny Glover said this thing that is so funny from Angels in the Outfield. He says, "What do you mean, love your enemies? I don't even like my friends."
Yes.
Well, we've got to go, but we just want to remind you all, if you're aging, watch your mouth. Do not just feel like you can just say anything just because you're at the age where nobody can check you because they want to respect you. Choose to respect everybody, even those younger than you.
Because now people will check you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe us on our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms, and of course, like and share our Facebook page, Three Black Moms. And until next time, I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Barbara. We are three Black moms. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're Three Black Moms.